The scripture for today is taken from Paul's letter to the Romans. Paul's letter to the Romans is considered his most complete theological work and most elaborate statement of his theological position. It was written probably while he was in prison in Rome and represents one of those documents that has formed a profound basis for all the thought and endeavors and discussions that have characterized at least Protestant theology since the beginning of the 20th century. So here, this from Paul's letter to the Romans. You can find it in your bulletin if you wish to read along. Paul says to them, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Owe no one anything except love one another. For the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. The commandments: you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not covet, and any other commandment are summed up in this word: love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no wrong to the neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law." Let us hear that in our contemporary context. Let us hear it and take it seriously. It may contain a truth we need to hear even now, even here. Amen. The title of today's message is Pride and Prejudice. And let me assure you that it is not a book review of the Jane Austen novel from the 19th century about the entanglements of love relationships among a certain family of especially women. No, it has to do with some profound realities that affect who we are as human beings. It has to do with some of the creative forces and destructive forces that are at work in our situation as we experience it today. Now, pride is an interesting term. Pride, in its essential meaning, has to do with a person's sense of satisfaction or pleasure or fulfillment of what one has accomplished or done or even envisioned. Pride, in its essential meaning, is an inner experience, something held within the unique individual, herself or himself. Pride is also, in its original meaning, something that can be experienced in the context of a group, especially a marginalized group that has somehow reclaimed its sense of valuing its own culture, of its own identity, of its own contribution to the community of humanity. So that, for example, you might hear a statement such as, "The whole sky was filled with colors of the rainbow as the bridge was lit with those colors as a symbol of LGBTQ pride." Or our church may go to New Hope, Pennsylvania, on an annual basis and present and be present in the Gay Pride Parade. That is a claiming of a sense of one's own value, a sense of one's identity, a sense of one's contribution. It is a joined and enjoined sense of accomplishment and valuing and self-valuing and self-respect that a group, especially a marginalized group, has experienced, to reclaim its value in spite of. So pride can be the inner feeling of an individual because of something. Pride can be the expression of a group in spite of something. But it always has to do with some sense of inner fulfillment. Some sense that, yes, I have committed myself to something and I have lived it out. Unhealthy pride, from a scriptural point of view, is seen as hubris. That has about it a kind of arrogance, a kind of haughtiness, grounded in a false sense of one's superiority over the other. It is a sense that one sees in an organization such as the KKK, taking pride in their whiteness, that is a hubris, that is a statement that somehow in God's creation I am superior because I'm white, or because I'm Christian, or because I'm Protestant, or because I'm male, or because I'm straight. That's the pride that is unhealthy. The pride that goes before the fall. And that hubris, that unhealthy pride, is the bridge that links the sense of self-value and self-fulfillment and respect that extends to others as well. That's the bridge that links that healthy pride to what we've come to know as prejudice. And prejudice is when that hubris, haughtiness, and sense of superiority leads one to preconceived notions of greater value accruing to one group over another. Prejudice is grounded in preconceived notions that are set aside truth. Preconceived notions that are both irrational and unfounded in reality. Prejudice is that which separates, and that which condemns, that which humiliates, and that which disdains. So you can see how pride, transformed into hubris, becomes prejudice that destroys relatedness. And we see a lot of that today. It's always been fascinating to me that since all of us really know, in our deepest selves, all of us really know that the most meaningful way to live life is to live life loving and being loved. There is no psychological school of thought. There is no anthropological study of humanity. There is no philosophical understanding of reality that would argue that life is healthier being unloving and unloved than life is being loving and loved. It's something everyone agrees on. This profundity of Paul's statement, the whole law, name the laws. The whole law is fulfilled in this one statement. Love your neighbor as yourself. Because Paul actually thought that that was the law of the universe. What he called the harmony of the universe. It's what love is our human term for what brings all things into harmony. And where love is absent, disharmony is present. And so there's no one in this room, I dare say, who doesn't believe that life is lived more meaningfully, loving and being loved, than it would be lived unlovingly and unloved. And so what fascinates me is the question, so what keeps us from loving? We know it's good for us. We know it's what humanity is meant to be. We know that our lives are made more meaningful and fulfilled by the experience. So what keeps us from doing it? Well, I think that the scriptures tell us that the arch enemy to love is fear. Do they not tell us that perfect love casts out fear? It's not casts out ignorance, casts out evil, casts out bad behavior. It casts out fear. And so the irony is that we live our lives in fear of doing the very thing that we already know would give our lives more meaning. One might even say that's enough to keep a psychotherapist busy. And what we know psychologically is that anxiety is directly proportional to lack of definition. An encounter with another, encounter with the unfamiliar always gives rise to anxiety. So what's the solution? To take the unfamiliar and to make it familiar. But we're afraid. We allow anxiety and fear to set aside our intention to love. And it really is as simple as that. We allow anxiety and fear to set aside our intention to love. So Paul would say, the same Paul who says the whole law is fulfilled in this one statement, love your neighbor as yourself, Paul would say, I know what I ought to do and yet I do not do it. I know what I ought not to do and yet I do it. Sound like the rest of us? So, I have a challenge for the church. Let's stop being scared. Let's stop being scared. Let's be the voice of truth. The truth that life is lived most meaningfully, loving and being loved. And let's stand up for the truth. And let's live out the truth. Starting right here with one another in this place. And we have to ask ourselves the serious existential question, what are we so afraid of? Even in this group, this wonderful, progressive, modern, relevant church. Are we still afraid to love one another? Is that asking too much? Are we so acculturated that we have all sorts of barriers up to what it means to love one another? Let's stop being afraid and let's start being more loving. And let me give my own insights into what all that means. It means that we take the time truly to know one another. That I'm interested in every one of you and that I want to get to know you. We're going to have a church luncheon. I'm not going to sit with everyone I already know and have known for 30 years. Why don't I sit with someone I don't know? I need to know you if I'm going to love you. I have to transform you from being the other I do not know to the one I know. And that means I have to be interested in you. I have to enter the essence of you. And you have to be open enough and fearless enough to let me in. So I need to know you. And I need to care about you. I need to have an attitude that says, you are a child of God. You are a precious person. You are someone who is a gift of life. We celebrate birthdays in here because that's the gift of life, and the one who is the gift of life is a gift of life to us. So when we ask someone like Chuck Smith to stand up and let us sing to him, or we ask someone like Al to stand up and we sing to him, what we're really supposed to be saying, and I hope we are saying, is, we're glad you were born because you're a gift to us. You're a gift in our midst, and we celebrate you as the gift in our midst. We bring gifts to a birthday party because we bring gifts to the one who is the gift. We bring presents to a birthday party because we bring presents to the one who is the beautiful presence in our midst, because I've allowed you to be there, because I stopped being so scared. So I need to know you and I need to care about you with an attitude that I always and only want to be a beneficial presence to you. And then I need to see you for who you are. You know, the problem with prejudice is you don't see anyone for who they are. They're the other. They're the enemy. They're the one who scares me. They're the one who's different. They're the one who causes me to feel guilty, so I don't want to see them. They're the one who confounds me because I don't know what to do, so I avoid. I need to see you for who you are. And in that sense, I respect you for who you are. What we use to see more clearly? Spectacles. Same root word. Respect. I need to spectacle you. And then I need to re-spectacle you the second time as the precious, unique person you are. And then I need to listen to you. If you allow me to know you, and you allow me to see you, I need to listen to you. And remember that the word listen and the word silent are spelled with the same letters. I'm listening. And I'm listening so I can understand you. I'm standing under. That's what the word means. I'm standing under your perspective, what you have to share, who you are, what your experiences are, how your experiences can enhance my life, how your experiences become a gift to me in the knowledge I learned from that. And then because I've stood under you, I can go full circle to knowing you better. And because I know you better, I can more fully care about you. And because I can care about you, I can more fully see you. And because I can see you, I'm more willing to listen to you and stand under you. And all of a sudden, we can take pride in our relentlessness. Because we're glad and it's fulfilling and we have an inner experience of fulfillment. And we're no longer scared. We're loving. And then what happens? We start experiencing with one another tremendous trust instead of doubt and distrust. We start experiencing relatedness instead of opposition. We start experiencing dialogue grounded in truth rather than arguments based on self-interest. We start working together for creative resolution of our issues rather than blaming and complaining one another for what is wrong. We stand together and become community. Come together, unity, one together, community. And we celebrate communion. Because that which was separated is now made one. That which was lost is now found. That which was feared is now loved. How desperately we need this to be the character of our world. Can you imagine what the news would be like? Can you imagine what the leadership of such a community would be like? Imagine. We're a long way from it. But we can be the beginning of something new. Paul's right. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. Boy, do we live in a time where there's a need for the renewing of people's minds who are conformed to the world of fear and hate and separation and opposition. Do we live in a world where love must cast cast out fear. And we, the church, must be the bearers of that love. So stop being afraid. The only thing to fear is fear itself. And what you have to give can cast out all the love, all the fear, and all the ignorance. Because love has no